السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الله أكبر الله أكبر. استغفر الله استغفر الله. لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله. السلام تبارك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. تقبل الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبح لله ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. له ملك السماوات والأرض يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير. هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن وهو بكل شيء عليم. This month of trying to acquire taqwa, to receive this nur from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the question comes, and rightfully so, especially from converts and young people. There's all this talk about taqwa during Ramadan, like shouldn't it be about iman? Like, what is the understanding? I don't understand this, like, we're iman and iman. Wal asr, inna al-insana lafi khusr, right? And this iman is about iman. There's no taqwa. It's not talking about taqwa. So why are we talking about taqwa, not iman? MashaAllah. It's okay question, no problem. And the relationship between the two terms is that with taqwa, so that everybody can understand it, inshallah, wallahu yahdi man yasha, is that taqwa is about paying attention to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and experiencing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed for us within this system so that we can understand who He is. So we experience a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the system of His creation. If we experience this, what happens is it increases our belief, our iman in Allah. Because now you're reading it in the Quran and then you're seeing it, right? You're experiencing these things. You go through the difficulties, and it's the good and the bad. So you may sometimes, like, you make a mistake, or you trip and you fall, and right, we do it. We're human beings. It's part of who we are as the creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But then you go and you read Quran or you read Hadith, and it's talking about you, what you were thinking and what you were experiencing and how you responded, whether it was good or bad, and it's all there. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about Sabbaha lillahi ma fi samawati wal ard, so now understanding that everything that is in the heavens and the earth is engaged in the tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, if you and I engage in the tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are now in balance. We are now in harmony with the rest of the universe. This is also experiencing this relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being like the rest of the creation of Allah and engaging in the tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, there's more, but we have to introduce some contrast first. So that way we can understand like where the difficulty sometimes comes in understanding these things and why Iman doesn't develop and so on and so forth. We in the society in the times that Allah Ta'ala has us living in, because it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who decided us to be born during these times and to be in this place, literally in this time, in this particular place, yani fil masjid, right now. Allah has done that, no one else. So what happens is that when we are busy experiencing created or innovations from human beings, so what happens is that we get caught up in those things which are part of our day-to-day lives, right? The system, not of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but here it is the actual system of kufr. We are immersed in it. We are experiencing it. Okay? So and that's the reason why we have so much interest in it. You see that, like, people will check more than they read Quran. More time than they will actually spend, like, learning deen, they will actually spend reading the news and on the internet and talking about it and engaged in it and so on and so forth. It's what you have to deal with at work. It's what everybody around you is talking about, subhanAllah, because they are non-Muslims. It's what they do. So then now, because of this advanced interest and experience in a system of kufr, the same thing happens. A belief is developed in it. A yaqeen is developed in it. A conviction, a certainty is developed in it. And the same thing also, there is a degree of what? Fear, right? Well, what will happen to me if I don't do this? What will happen to me if I don't have money? What will happen to me if I don't have power? What will happen to me if I don't have status? Do you see? So the same thing that's supposed to be happening when we engage in the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and do what Allah ta'ala tells us in terms of taqwa, it develops yaqeen and iman and tawakkul ala Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all of these things that is what we're hoping for in Ramadan, by experiencing Ramadan. But when we are too busy and we are experiencing kufr and shirk and the system of kufr and shirk, then yes, those same things are going to develop. So their iman is going to develop, tawakkul is going to develop, yaqeen is going to develop, but it will not be billah. It will not be in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the reason why you'll find that so many, even within the Muslim community, you'll find that there are those that they want to make Islam more like kufr. And they'll question, the ulama deal with it all the time. Well, how come Islam can't be more like kufr? Like non-Muslims are doing this. How come we can't be like that? Right? Some completely, they don't even know it. They've left Islam because, well, in Islam doesn't allow for this thing or that thing. And in this system of kufr, they do. And we are impressed with it. Why are they impressed with it? Because they're always interacting with it. When you interact with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's system, you become impressed with Allah. When you interact with the system of kufr, then you become impressed with the system of kufr. You see? So it's going to happen whether you and I, we like it or not. One of these two things is going to happen. The question is which way are we going? Are we developing iman in the system of kufr? Do we have trust in the system of kufr? Do we have this conviction in the system of kufr, which is only related to this dunya? Or is it that now are we going to use this month of Ramadan to change that to whatever degree it is true? And if it is not true at all, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and preserve you, then it is now about advancing. Because see, the thing about it is that when we get caught up in the system of kufr, has a very finite ceiling. It is very simple, it is generic, it is corrosive, it is destructive. That's the reason why people look at what's happening to them psychologically. Look at what's happening to them societally. Look at what is happening to them politically. Look at what is happening to them. It is like a cancer in their hearts and their lives and their minds, and it is driving them insane. It has a very limited ceiling. The potential is only just related to like these mata'ul ghurur, these deceptive, like, like little things of enjoyment and things you can hold in your hand and whatnot, but they come and they go. Now, but in Islam, well, now we're talking about oceans of Iman. There's levels and depths and understandings and all the way up to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He is the pinnacle. We can't reach it, but it's there. And then you have awliyaullah, and then subhanallah. Think about that. There are so many different, if you look even amongst our history, as far as our pious predecessors and everything, and all the different types of personalities and all the different types of the ways that Allah Ta'ala used them, right? Subhanallah, look at all of their stories, the uniqueness of it, but each one of them is beautiful. This is our deen, this is Islam. Why? Because each of them was swimming in an ocean that didn't have any shores. It didn't have a bottom. There was no limit to it. So Ramadan is about weave the mud puddle of kufr and shirk. Remove the effects of the indulgence and the overwhelming experience of dealing with it on a day-to-day basis. So that way your belief in it becomes broken. Your trust in it becomes broken. Your conviction in it becomes broken. And now you engage with the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You engage with Islam. You experience Islam. Ramadan is part of Islam. It is part of the identity of a Muslim. It is the nur is coming from Allah. And what is the effect of that nur? That now we are experiencing Islam. We are developing a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now as we're seeing that, yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is engaging with us directly through his creation. He is giving life and he is giving death. He is controlling everything. He is the first, he is the last, he is the outer, he is the inner, and he knows everything. Experience this relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let our hearts become filled with the nur of Iman through this experience. Pay attention to Allah. Pay attention to these things, that there's not just words in the Quran. Pay attention to them. Give them your devout attention, so that way what happens, you will learn, both of us, you and I, you will learn how to trust Allah. You will believe more in Allah. You will have full conviction in Allah. And as numerous, Ali radiallahu anhu, he said, when I make salah, I imagine Jannah on my right-hand side, Jahannam on my left-hand side, and my qabr is in front of me. To what extent? He says, it doesn't matter if you were to show me Jannah or Jahannam, it would not increase my iman, not one iota. I don't need to see it now. It's not going to increase my iman. I've been experiencing this relationship with Allah through the system and with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now it doesn't matter if I see it. It's not going to increase my iman. I already believe fully. When the akhirah becomes more real to us than this dunya, we know we're getting somewhere. When the dunya becomes overwhelming in our minds and our hearts and our lives and our worries and our concerns, and it minimizes our understanding of the akhirah, thinking about the akhirah, hope in the akhirah, wanting to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a worry and a fear of what is going to happen to me because of what I have sent forth in terms of my ill deeds, my sins, my ma'asi and sayyiyat. There's something wrong. Ramadan is a month of miracles where these things get fixed in our hearts and in our minds, where we have an opportunity to give up our current way of thinking as it relates to the dunya and the akhirah, and change our relationship with creation so that way we are not impressed with the systems of kufr and shirk and wanting to change Islam. We're impressed with Islam. We want to change the kufr and shirk. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be? So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this change happen first in our own hearts, in our own lives, in our own families. May Allah ta'ala give us this firm commitment to make this effort during the remainder of Ramadan wa ba'daha, and after this month of Ramadan. That Ya Allah, I am committed to this effort of Iman. I want to increase me in taqwa so that I can experience you through this relationship with you, through your creation, through this system, through your words, which you are explaining to us, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen, in the Quran and through the Mubarak mouth of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Ya Allah, make our footsteps firm in the footsteps of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. اللهم اغفر لنا وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم. يا مثبت القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. يا مصرف القلوب صرف قلوبنا على طاعتك. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة ونسألك من فضلك يا ذا الفضل العظيم. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. جزاكم الله خير الجزاء. السلام عليكم. Hmm.